So hey guys, thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. This is obviously the second webinar that we've run, particularly with Tara. We did the estimating one last week. If you haven't checked that out, I'll put the link in the chat shortly. That one was really all about how we estimate in Build, or how Tara estimates in Buildxact and how she uses the system. So not the Buildxact way, it's Tara's way. And there's going to be a similar tone to this as well in terms of how Tara manages projects inside Buildxact. She does this obviously for a living. So it's good to get a more real world example rather than the way we say everything should be done. We've got Nadia here from Xact Accounting. So if you've joined any of these webinars before, I'm sure you know who Xact Accounting are. So Nadia's going to be going through how that the zero integration side of it works. And you might see Ryan there. Ryan is very sick at the moment, but he still has joined on, so he won't be turning his camera on, but he is on the call. So hello everyone, thanks for joining.
Hey.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. And yeah, Ryan's probably going to keep his microphone off until he needs to jump in. Oh, there he is. I think
yeah. Hi guys.
Yeah, can hear the voice being a bit croaky. I think everyone is getting sick at the moment, especially people that are living in Melbourne. I've said this to the team here. There might be at some point I might need to start breaking out on a coughing fit. So apologies if you start seeing me just mute myself and turn to the side for about 30 seconds. Unfortunately, I've got a 2-year-old, and as everyone knows, daycare is the ultimate cesspit for germs and bacteria, and he brings it home.
Germ factory.
Yeah, and then puts his hands all over my food and all that kind of stuff. So last week was it? Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's getting sick at the moment. But thankfully, I'm on the tail end of it. So there's actually a lot of people on here today, guys. So just if you haven't joined one of these sessions before, just some general sort of housekeeping, pop as much stuff as you can in the chat. We'll try and keep the questions answered as we go. If there are some questions where it kind of like takes us off into a bit of a sidestep, or we're going on a particular topic for too long, we might just pause those questions and then jump into it at the very end. Ryan's got a bit of a hard stop on the hour, so he'll try and get his session done and everything before that. But again, this session's really going to be around how, for the majority part, how Tara uses Buildxact to manage projects. As I said, there's going to be things that Tara doesn't do. That's obviously completely up to her. This isn't really us telling you what to do, but there will be a separate session with Ryan and myself as well, where we talk about some of the features that maybe Tara doesn't go into as much. So things like the customer portal, the mobile app, that kind of thing. And we can kind of show you what's coming and how everything's working. So just bear with us. So Tara's going to go first. Then we'll jump into Nadia to show how the zero integration works. So for those of you that haven't got your 2A integration turned on with zero, we're going to show some of that basic stuff about how that comes into Buildxact. And then, as I mentioned, Ryan on the customer portal, the mobile app, and got some little teasers on some of the new features there. And then new schedule features just come out. So Tara's going to show that a little bit as well. If you haven't had that turned on, you do want the new schedule showing after this, just feel free to shoot me an email and I can get that done. So chat box, I've already seen people start saying hello and stuff there. So really appreciate that. And if you guys can all just let us know where you are from in the country, that'd be awesome, just so we know, because I think we had some international people. Obviously we always get ANZ people anyway, but
yeah, we've had a few Canadians, I think.
Yeah, I think so,
on some of them as well. Yeah Was someone from far north Queensland?
Sorry,
Was someone from FNQ?
Yeah,
that's my neck of the woods.
Where are you from?
I'm actually from Townsville. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the Kiwis as usual. We've got Sydney, Melbourne, Hervey Bay, Sunshine Coast. Lee, I was actually just up there yesterday. Sunshine Coast, absolutely no sunshine the entire time I was there. It just rained the whole bloody time, and Melbourne had 22 degrees, and I was up there. Awesome, cool. And if you can just let me know if you are a Buildxact subscriber, just pop in yes or no, just so we know roughly who we're looking at. I think most people are going to be Buildxact users here. Yeah, Lee, lots of rain in the last few days. Awesome, guys. So we've got a lot of users here. So look, there might be some stuff that you already know. Again, this is more just talk through Tara's workflow and how she does things. And then obviously, hopefully we can get you across some of the newer features and things as well. Glenn, you're on a trial. So hopefully after this, Glenn, you'll have a bit of an understanding about how it works. For those of you who haven't checked, definitely go and look at that estimating one. That's where the bulk, that session was a lot longer. It's about an hour and a half by the end of it. This session probably isn't going to be that length at all. I would say we'll probably be done by the hour. So I'll pop, while I'm going to throw to Tara in a second now, but while that's happening, I'll put the link in there for the previous webinar if you guys want to check it out. But for those who don't know, buildxact.com, hover over resources, hit webinars, all the webinars will go there. So this one will probably be up there, I'd say the end of today, maybe early tomorrow. We'll also send an email out to you, but if you're ever looking to see the webinar list, there's the link in the chat just there. So I'm going to throw over to you, Tara. I'll turn the microphone on mute, and maybe we'll just get a bit of a run through on how you move from that estimating into the job and then go from there, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you, and everybody for jumping in. Like Julian just said, this is the best way to do it. This is just a way that, as someone who builds estimates and then needs to understand how I'm tracking those costs, because we don't do this for practice, we do it to make money. And just some of the things that I encourage my builders to do and set out while, using the system. So yeah, it's not the be all end all, but it is something that I've found pretty beneficial. And also, if I have to cough as well, I will do the same thing. Yeah, there's no way around it. Now, with regards to the estimating one from last week, that would be a really good one to actually go back and just watch, because the way that I set my estimates will then assist how I build a schedule, and then how we go from having that schedule and setting our stage claims and then monitoring our provisional sums and prime costs. And if you're not doing those two things, prime costs, provisional sums, throughout your project, and you're waiting till the end, then that it's a nightmare, like, to try and wrap all that up. So we just try to encourage everyone to do it throughout the actual build with your stage claims. So this screen, for those who don't have the new schedule function, this is what the schedule function looks like from the estimate side. So now we don't have to create a job like we used to. We can just go schedule and build this here. And the beauty of doing that, it means we can, when we're setting this out for a quote proposal to the client or for contract, we can set this out and not have to create the job just yet. So you can still amend numbers, figures, scopes of work. And we can build that, sorry, from over in the estimate tab. And what we can do now is, instead of having to have, see this, the T-bar, instead of it bringing across just that name, it'll bring the item across, but you can then label it however you want to actually label it, which is great, because I don't know about anybody else, but that used to drive my mind insane when I couldn't change the name, because sometimes when you're taking it from an estimate to the actual project management, how you're titling it for the client didn't really make sense. So like, that feature is brilliant, and we can now color code these items as well, which is really good for my brain. I like to know that, all my important items, such as my stage claims, because like I said before, we're not doing this just for fun. We're doing this to make money, and we need to make sure that whatever we're setting our stage claims out as, we've got it written in here so that it's visually like, boom, that's what I've got a claim coming through. And I'll make all of those dark green so that I know. And then that here, so I'm pointing to the screen like you guys can see it with me, but like,
we can see your mouse anyway.
Yeah, that's good. So you can see here that the framing inside stage claim 1 ends. And so that, for me, I go, great, that's a trigger. I have to make sure all of those things are completed beforehand. And you can throw these on dependencies, excuse me, and however you need it to go. I just set this out as a basic so we can run through it, basically. But yeah, my big thing is the visual of going, when's my stage claim due, and what do I need to have working back from that, and having that set out clearly will be good for your whoever's project managing, even your supervisor, to say, hey dude, or hey girl, whoever, just remember this date's really important because we get this claim for this. And if we've got to be setting certain tasks or juggling things around, we can know that ahead of time that that's a really important week. And then we're building that from the way that we're estimating. So you can see, like, we're setting that out. Again, go watch the other, excuse me, estimating one, but I'm just showing you for the moment how that breaks out against what's in there. So where's another one? We'll go electrical works. Electrical works will be a big one that we can put through. Oh no, I didn't build it from there. Sorry, guys. So going back to the schedule and setting out your stage claims, that links back to how we are then controlling our costings, because when we're setting the estimate to then build our schedule, we need to track how we then set a stage claim. And setting the stage claims and also your provisional sums and your prime costs are really important to feeding over how we operate in our zero capacity, because all of those items, your cost centers, they're what are known as your charter of accounts and how they'll track where you're putting money in a project. And so we align that from our estimate all the way over to how we set our schedule, and then also to the way that we set our stage claims, because understanding our stage claims, and I'm about to show you a spreadsheet of how I do that, it shows to me that my weeks account to what actually needs to happen, and if I've got enough flux in there if something does happen. You always want to be cash positive when you're setting claims, especially on a method B, which is where we've got a project a bit out of the box. So it's not a standard cookie cutter house, which I still think method A, but I don't agree with that. But anyways, the banks want sometimes. So just understanding how to set that out to then operate with your actual schedule here. I'm going to share this in a second, if it could.
Tara,
Can
why are
you
you doing
see-
that? Do you add in task items underneath those main categories as well, or do you keep it very
Yes.
simple? So if we just expand on some of those drop downs on the left hand side, if you just expand on them, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can see that they're built out. Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that. You can see what those 2 days are then made of as well.
Yeah.
And how
So
it
guys-
further breaks that out.
Yeah, so guys, if you haven't noticed already, when you select a category color, it feeds those colors down in there. Obviously, Tara's looking at it from a real simplified view to see what the categories are. Obviously, you want to break them. Some people like seeing everything in one screen. Some people like seeing them as just really rolled up. And I think, Tara, I don't think you've got automatic dependencies turned on rather than the drawing the arrows and stuff, right?
Yeah, for this one, yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't want to have the arrows drawn for the dependency lines, you can just turn on automatic ones. If you do, depends on, there's no real right or wrong answer with that.
Yeah, it just depends what you,
I
guess, want and visually, excuse me, require. So we've gone into here. Now, is this sharing that screen?
Not yet. No, we've still got the Buildxact screen at the moment.
Okay, so I'm going to have to start on that, and I'll just share this screen instead.
Tim, dependency lines are basically if you move one task out, if there's a task that it's connected to, the other one's going to push out as well. So in the old schedule tool, you draw it across. In the new one, you can do the same thing, or you can just select the option and tag them in there. But it basically just means that this task B can't start until task A is finished.
Yeah, basically. So it's just a bit of a fail safe so that if something's running late and a good, tiles, for example, if your tile order isn't placed at a certain time, and making a note of that in your Buildxact schedule to say tiles must be placed at this time, 23-week lead time. If you miss that, that's a big deal. So it's handy to have those turned on. Sorry.
Now we'll take time. So while you want to do that, Brenton asked about the schedule and if it can be turned back to the old version. I'm not sure if it can, Brenton. It might be worth actually having a chat with someone in support and then maybe one of the product managers just to find out what your feedback is in terms of why it isn't working for you at the moment.
Sorry, guys. I can't get this spreadsheet to work.
All good. Tim, if you're inside Buildxact and you're inside the schedule, the dependency lines will, let me just, if you hover over the individual task, sorry, I won't try and share while Tara's doing it. If you hover over the individual task and then move to the right-hand side, you should see like two little gray dots that appear on either side. And then from there, you can literally just click on the dot and then move it along. And that should create, a dependency.
All right. Sorry, everyone. I'm going there.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah. So you can see here that this is an example of setting out a stage claim, and you're taking all the items that we're building in the Buildxact, and then we're assessing what that costs, how it looks, and then we're setting that stage claim that we can then look back into our schedule visually and go, this is what this is going to bring me, basically. And then when we're in our Buildxact and we're setting out the stage claims is how we'll then have all of that information that gets linked back from our zero to then run and calculate the numbers of monies that's going out, monies that's owed, those kind of the money side of things against what we're running the job and how we're running the job. Yeah. So I guess, Nadia, if you want to kind of jump in on that side of things, it's probably a good time on that. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yep. Thanks, Tara. Hi, everyone. Just so I'm the client director for the bookkeeping division at Xact, nothing tax, just so you all know. We do work with a lot of clients that use Buildxact, so I'll just be talking about mainly from our point of view as external bookkeepers, because bear in mind, we are not on the ground in the offices of the clients, so we are outside of that. We do depend on a tech stack in order to do our work. Part of that is Dext. So Dext, Buildxact, Xero sort of links in together. The job coding is very important. If you want to have the integration between Buildxact and Xero to work properly, it's very important to have the right job codes set up in your tracking categories. It has to match, otherwise it won't map. If you've got POs coming into Buildxact, it won't map to Xero. If you've got bills coming into Xero, it won't map to Buildxact if you don't have the right job codes. So just on that note as well, we do not go into the dashboards often in Buildxact. That's more of an operational thing, but I'll quickly show you in Xero what it looks like when we do it. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, and just a heads up for everyone while Nadia's doing that, this is a specific Xero to Buildxact integration that we've got. We don't have that turned on for MYOB, so it's MYOB, it's only a one-way, so you enter into Buildxact, Buildxact sends it to MYOB. The Xero one is a two ways. The best way of doing it is having it coming into Xero and then pushing into Buildxact. But
yeah, thanks. Yeah, so this is mainly what we do on our side. I just created this sort of dummy invoice to show you what it looks like. This is the software we use for document collection because it integrates with Xero, and then Xero integrates with Buildxact. There's no integration between Dext and Buildxact, just so you know. It's only between Buildxact and Xero. But what it does, it actually pre-fills the data, and at this stage we need to make sure that we get the job code allocated correctly. And so if you've got your tracking set up in Xero, because Xero and Dext speaks to each other, if you set up your tracking categories correctly, I'll just quickly go in there. It has to match what you've got in Buildxact. So I always say to clients, when you start a new job in Buildxact, let us know if we're doing your bookkeeping for you so we can set up the job code for you in the tracking categories. Or a lot of the clients actually want to do it themselves, and that's fine. Then we just show them where to go and set it up. But that's something to remember. And like we work mainly in Xero, but I would assume it's the same with any accounting software. Otherwise, it won't speak to each other. So that's where the job codes have been set up under the tracking categories, and they have to match what we've got in Buildxact. Let me just try and get this out of the way. Once the bill, comes in through Dex and it goes into Xero, it will sync to Buildxact from Xero, and it sits in this little, I call it a waiting room, the imported bills, and it just sits there for you to then action. And this is sort of where we stop. As external bookkeepers, we make sure that everything in your accounting software has been entered. We reconcile IP, all that, make sure it matches the job codes. Then you come into this little waiting room, and this is where you're going to either create an order if there wasn't an existing purchase order. Recently, they've introduced this new function, there's a new button there, which we really like, because we want to get people used to starting to use POs. I know a lot of smaller builders are not using POs, but it's really good thing to get into the habit of. Now we've got the option to actually link the bill to an existing PO. And what it does, it will match it to the open PO. And at that stage is also where it will link to the line items or the items within your Buildxact. So we don't really track items within Xero. There's no need for that. You really just want to do that in Buildxact on the operational side of things. Any questions?
There was a couple there, Nadia. I'll just
Let me just
jump out.
make my screen.
Nicole, so Clayton asked if it's if we plan on doing this with MYOB. I think there has been conversations around it. It just hasn't seemed as anywhere near as big of a piece of demand, I guess, compared to Xero. I mean, like, the majority of builders that we have are on Xero, and it's like, I think it's something ridiculous, the percentage. So, yeah. And it's a bit of work doing this, I think. So,
yeah, and I must say I'm probably biased as well. But if I get clients that are on MyOb, I convert them to Xero instantly. That's because it's just much easier than MyOb to use, and much more user friendly as well. Easier to integrate with other systems. So definitely would recommend that.
I mean, I used to work at MYOB as well, and I'm pretty pro MYOB. But yeah, in this particular industry, it just feels like Xero is the it feels like it is the big one there. So
yeah. So that's from our side of things as external bookkeepers that we mainly focus on. We don't really go into the side of things that Tara was talking about within Buildxact, the scheduling and the progress claims. But just on the progress claims note, the one thing to look out for that I've actually recently seen with a client of mine, they were raising manual invoices in Xero for like the deposit payment, so that they can just produce an invoice or a document to the client for that deposit. And then they were also raising the full job invoice in Buildxact, so it overstated their revenue. And we picked up on that. So just be careful of that, that if you're going to do that, make sure that you actually deduct that deposit line either in the invoice in Buildxact or raise a credit note in Xero to offset. Otherwise, you're going to overstate the revenue.
Yeah, thanks, Nadia. And Nicole's asked, this question's come up a few times, but why Dex over HubDoc?
Okay, so there's a few reasons, but again, I'm biased. HubDoc was purchased by Xero a couple of years ago, and it's part of their subscription. It's free. The reason, because it's free, they're also not investing any more money in the development of that software. So it's really fallen behind with technology. Because of that, they're not developing it much. Dex is far more superior. Plus, it's got that option of having the job codes that can sync in. You can allocate job codes. Hopefully, at some stage, we can get purchase orders that you are raising in Buildxact to actually come into Xero and then match to the bill through Dex. But that's a bit further down the line, I think. Dex is just far more superior, but yes, I've seen HubDoc fallen behind with technology massively over the years. I've actually worked with it as well.
Thanks, Nadia. And then Ruth just asked, can we customize the job tracking category names in Buildxact? So the job number, basically, so it comes in. I don't think you can at the moment. Ryan might know more on that.
Yeah, I don't believe you can at the moment. I believe it's just the Buildxact job number that's coming through. You can customize the job number though. Under the job details tab, you can edit the job number. So if you wanted to add more information to that job number, that's certainly something you can do.
Can we change PO numbers? I don't think once you create the PO numbers, I don't think you can change it. And I think it automatically creates a number in Buildxact as well there, Nathan.
That's correct. Yep.
Trainer, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. We use Xero HubDoc and the interface working from Buildxact interface into Xero is just, yeah, I mean, I think Nadia's covered that a little bit in terms of, yeah, she feels just Dex is a better overall system. I guess if it's maybe trying to save money, you don't want to spend another subscription cost, then maybe HubDoc can get you by. As long as it's coming into Xero, we just pull it from Xero. So.
Yeah, just be careful with HubDoc. I've seen clients set up their accounts email to automatically just go into HubDoc. It will bring absolutely everything into HubDoc. I've seen stuff from clients in HubDoc that I probably shouldn't have seen. Like it will bring absolutely everything.
So a bit more double checking, I think.
And be careful. Yeah, whereas with Dext, you've got a unique email in address, or you also have the mobile app. You only send invoices into Dext that you've already reviewed, approved, and you're happy to go into your accounts. Because it's happened before with HubDoc where everything comes in, absolutely everything, and it just goes straight into Xero because whoever is doing it might not know that it shouldn't go in. There might be a dispute with a subby, or you haven't received all the materials you've ordered. And then only a month down the line or at the end of the quarter when you do your BAS, you pick up that this invoice never should have been in my accounts. So Dex just have a lot more control. I believe HubDoc is not great with picking up duplications either, whereas Dex has that function. It will pick up if you upload an invoice twice, it will automatically archive one, and that way it eliminates any possible duplications going into your accounts.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to work at NYB, I used to work for a lot of bookkeepers, and Receipt Bank, which is what Dex used to be called, was always the one that people used to say that's the kind of the creme de la creme, and then the other options.
And it's very cheap. It's not expensive. It's almost it's $25 a month subscription.
Yeah.
There are you can sign up for it in your own personal name or your company's name. Just bear in mind that they've got tiers, so almost like what Xero has in pricing, and there's a limit as to the number of documents you can upload. If you subscribe through Dex through your accounting firm or through us, there's no limit, and it's a flat fee because the firm gets a discount, and there's no limit with the documents either.
Awesome. There was a question there, Nadia, if you can actually show the workflow. I'm not sure if you've got something set up that you can move this to, but I think it was Josh, maybe Josh. I'm sorry, Josh, I'm trying to find your message.
I'll try. I've basically done this dummy one for this purpose already. But I'll just go through this again. So this is basically where an invoice was sent, and I just did this sort of fake invoice myself, just as an example. But this is where it goes into Dext. I'll go to the inbox. Maybe there's one sitting there.
Maybe the one that you had in Buildxact already. Can you click into there, link to an existing order?
Yeah, so I can link that. So the order is already existing because I raised the PO before I did the invoice, and then all you do is you're just gonna link it, and then you check your line items where you can see it's all materials, it's all good, and save and send, and you're done. Oh, I don't want to send it really.
Yeah, I never send emails. I think I've got a Mr. and Mrs. Smith email on my default one. I'm sure some poor couple have just had thousands of emails sent from me over the years when I was doing demos.
It wants me to send it, so I have to send it to myself now. And then it will go into your actuals, I believe, within Xero, because you've received the goods, the bill. If you mark the bill as paid in Xero, it should also come up as paid in Buildxact because of the two-way integration.
Yeah, it'll be under the jobs, under
Yeah.
the actual categories there in Buildxact. Sorry, as I'm trying to keep up with the questions here, Adrian's asked, I might be jumping, I will jump back, guys. I'm just sort of trying to keep as I'm seeing them. So Adrian said, should you do an order for every invoice?
I think it depends. If it's job related, definitely. I think because you keep track of your costs as well, you can plan your cash flow properly for that job. I don't know, maybe you would agree, Tara. But I would say definitely on big jobs. I know a lot of builders do renovations and small things, maybe maintenance that are small jobs. I wouldn't recommend doing a PO for every single Bunnings invoice if you just go and buy some nails. That's going to be a lot. For the big things, yes.
Yeah. And Ruth just asked there, so if we don't use Dex for HubDoc, just a manual import of invoice into Buildxact. No, so it'd be more of an import, more of a manual entry into Xero, if I'm not mistaken, Nadia. And Xero would send it to Buildxact.
Yes, it sounds like that. Or I know you've got the option where you can actually bring the bill straight into Buildxact and it sends it to Xero, but you have to make sure that your settings is set up correctly in order for it to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've, sorry, Ryan, jump in, yeah.
I might just jump in here. So if you're not using Dext or HubDoc to populate bills into Xero, then you generally would be manually entering the invoice information into Buildxact and using the Buildxact to Xero direction of the integration, because it can work both ways, Buildxact to Xero, or as we're discussing with the imported bills, Xero to Buildxact. If you're not using Dext or HubDoc, it's likely that you'd want to enter the invoice information into Buildxact and have that transferred across to Xero to prevent the need for double handling.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there any reason, Ryan, that you couldn't just enter it into Xero and do it that way?
Excuse me. Yeah, you could. If you're not using Dext or HubDoc, you're going to be manually entering it into one system or the other, either entering it into Buildxact or entering it into Xero. So it is a matter of personal preference there. But for most of our users that aren't using Dext or HubDoc that I've spoken with, and that's been quite a few, they're manually entering invoices into Buildxact and then transferring that information across to Xero.
Awesome. And guys, I'm not sure how many of you are across all the cost tracking side of things. I think a lot of people are users here. So I might just quickly show this, but I won't spend too long going through everything. But maybe just giving you guys a couple of options. And then Tara, I might throw back to you just to give some advice if you've got any suggestions on like how you would manage variation, that whole process and everything, if that's okay. So if you guys can see the screen at the moment, the way Buildxact tracks on the costs and the actuals is that you can either do it line by line, and what I often see is a lot of people just doing it on the category. Now, obviously, that's not as much as the optimal way, but especially if you're starting off in Buildxact and you're not really trying to go into detail and you're just trying to learn it, this might be a good way of doing it. So ultimately, you can track line by line, and it will show you where you're going over or under, but it's still calculates it as at a category level. So you can see how much budget you're actually spending on the job overall in the category. So if you're just starting to use us and you're struggling to get some of this stuff, learn and the process and everything, and it might be a bit overwhelming, sometimes it's easier just to start and just do more rolled up pricing in your estimating. And then when it comes to the job, just sort of entering in the costs when they come into the category level. So no right or wrong way. There's maybe a more optimal way as you start building things out further and you start with bigger budgets and you want to make sure your costs are really fine-tuned. But yeah, you can do it this way. Do you see people, Nadia, doing it that way where they don't want to be as detailed and they find that bit a bit harder to get going on?
Yeah, a lot of people have questions in the beginning initially when they start off with Buildxact. We do as much as we can on the accounting side of things, and we do actually help them set up their integration settings as well, because it's important that initially when you do that setup, you have to bring in the GL codes from the chart of account that needs to sync between the two softwares. If you don't set that up correctly, the information will not come in properly anyway.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. I think that part is hopefully you don't want to sort of dive too much into this because then it becomes like more of a show and tell rather than a sort of talking about the general sort of project management workflow. Tara, anything from, so when we get to this kind of variation part and getting the invoices sent out, obviously that you mentioned earlier on about the schedules and it linking to the stages, but anything extra for this part of the side? I know a lot of builders do struggle with keeping track of variations and organize them and when they need to be done and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so variations is a good one to build. Sorry, to talk about in Buildxact. I always charge for variations. If you're not charging for them, it's something to consider, just because it takes admin time to make them. And then running them in your actual Buildxact and building them in here means that you are able to control that cost and as that variation is approved, it can then be added to a stage claim, which means it's easier to monitor that cost and then how that looks. In terms of adding it back into your, your schedule, you can just drop line items back in and then just put variation 1 and maybe have some information, or variation 2 on what that might link to. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you go in and put it against the sort of the dark green stage claim line, or would you go and put it under the appropriate line that it fits under based on the?
Yeah, so you'd be putting it under that line item because it's tasks that need to be done against what that claim looks like. Yeah. So that's still the golden thing, is that claim. Because if I get that variation done, there's an extra 50, 100K, whatever, that I'm able to then invoice out.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah. And it's got a pretty cool function now where you can digitally approve it. I mean, you still need to get it signed. So whether you're using DocuSign or doing a physical printout, you still need to have that proponent, but at least it's a good way that you can say, client's given me, over the phone, boom, done. Okay, we can move on to the next stage of ordering it through there. And then also when you're making a variation, this is just because how my brain is and I like things to look nice and neat on my actuals costing. When you're making a variation and you are going to, I'll just share my screen on this.
Yeah,
that's cool. In 2 seconds. Yeah, cool. Do you want to continue? Yes. I want to go to Xact. And so as you can see, all your actual costings are all nice and neat. And I like to see what my variation costs are individually. I don't assign them back to an actual estimate category. And that's just because I want to know that this is all my job costs, these are my variations, and that's broken out. Also, it's good to have that scope sometimes that you can use for future projects. So building your variation, you just got to make sure that you are adding in that actuals category. And I built one before I made this, and it just says variation 1. So when that's approved, all that information will copy over to that cost category instead of going as a order number, whatever it pops up as.
And Tara, when you charge for the additional variation, is it like a one-off charge? Like, is it like $100 per variation, or is it like an extra 5% markup you add on? What kind of process do you?
Yeah, so as just a basic variation, it's $250 admin fee, or it can range. Sorry, that's where we can start off, but they can go up based on whatever you want to charge. And then for anything structural, we start at about $1,000. And $1,000 is generally because with a structural item, you have to stop work because it can be something where someone goes, oh, I need this extra beam added in, but it means that I got to push site out. Sometimes, a whole week, 2 weeks just to get this put in. So you just kind of have to assess how that looks. But yeah, I think you should be entitled to charge for that. I know we get markup on our variations, but some of these variations take weeks to make, like weeks. And if the client goes, no, it's too expensive. Wow. All right, sweet. I'm still charging you the variation admin, but I'm just not charging you the variation. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just one of those little, I guess, housekeeping things it also controls maybe how the client sees a variation. They have a bit more respect for it and what you have to do versus just price that. Just price that. Can you give me those 5 options? It's like, well, yeah, I can, but it's going to cost you every time. And having all of that written into your specification,
I was going to say
which I touched on with the estimating side, having all that as part of your general notes. It will get you out of trouble, and then you don't have an awful conversation of, I'm charging you for this.
Awesome. So yeah, sorry, if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to add a variation against the original category and then put the new actual category in as variation one, right? So
you can.
Yeah.
So to just be taking that money, excuse me, from there and bringing it across to that variation instead.
Yeah. So you might have tiling, for example, the customer wants to change the type of tile or the color or whatever it is. You add that, click the thing, click variation. When it comes into the new actual section, you put the new category, and that's how you manage it currently.
Yes, that's how I manage that. And it's just a visual thing for me. I just like to know that if that money has been taken from there, it's all down in this particular one. But if you want to do it so that it just automatically sends it out to those particular categories, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Awesome. So Ryan's got a bit of a hard stop on the hour. So guys, we've kind of covered off the schedule. I know we're zipping through some of this stuff. I'm probably going to take the full hour in the end, even though I said we wouldn't. We've got the schedules. We've got sort of how that links into purchase orders, Xero, how all that process comes in with the cost tracking. Gone through some variations. Invoicing, I think most people kind of get that part of it. So the other areas that we haven't really touched on is the sort of the more client relations side of things, and then also how we work with subbies and suppliers and stuff. So if Ryan's still there, I might just give him an opportunity to talk a little bit about how that works. Not going to go into a full demo. Like, our customer portal is a really useful tool. It's not going to solve absolutely every single thing that you need it for, because we're not a customer portal software. But it gives you a lot of options to how you communicate things, documents, all that kind of stuff. But Ryan, I might throw to you, mate, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to share my screen at the moment. That's coming through okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this is an example of a client portal that we do have. And basically a client portal from a Buildxact perspective is a website that you can invite clients to have a certain view over elements in your project or your job that may be more client facing. And by that, I mean, if I just choose one of these projects here, basically, this is a website you can invite clients into, not only for communication, so clients can message you from this client portal, then you'll be able to receive those messages in your Buildxact account and be able to basically converse back and forth. This client portal is also an area that you can share customer-facing documents that Buildxact generates, for example, quote letters, any sort of pictures or any generic documents as well, as well as variations, invoices. Basically, anytime that Buildxact creates a customer-facing document, you will have the option to share that document into the client portal. Now, this will only work if you have a lead attached to your estimate. But basically, for an example, if I go to the quote letter, which is a client-facing document, I click share. Beyond the basic email capability of sharing this quote out via an email, there'll also be the functionality of sharing this quote into the client portal. So if I go to recipients here, one of the options is, would you like to share this quote document into the client portal? And there'll generally be a description of which area of the client portal this document will go in. For quotes, it's rather simple. There is a dedicated area for quotes to be shared into quotes. Also, beyond that, any variations or outgoing invoices. I'm not sure if I have a variation in here. I certainly don't. But if I created an invoice, it's like a cost plus job to me. I'll just quickly create one. And if I hit save and send, one of the options is going to be to share this into the client portal. Sorry, it's from the share option here. Additionally to that, any documents that you upload into the job details area, or indeed the estimate details tab as well, can be shared into the client portal too. And a lot of our users will share progress photos, or they'll outline specific specifications as well that might be relevant in this document section. So it just functions as a bit of a one-stop shop for you to actually send information from Buildxact into an area that the client has access to see. They'll also be notified when you share anything into their client portal as well. Now, one other thing that I'd like to talk about is our mobile application called
Just
Buildxact.
before you jump into that, Ryan, if that's all right, mate, I'll just quickly add some little bits on there. The way I look at the client portal, I think a lot of people kind of say like it hasn't got this feature, and it's not the most fully featured tool that we have. But at the moment, all of this stuff is just things that people are sending via email. So at the moment, it's sitting there, and I don't know about you guys, but in my at Hotmail inbox, I have like 15,000. I'm one of those people that gets a spam. I don't delete them, and it's bogs down. At the moment, those documents, those pictures, those whatever are just going through to an email or to a text message or to a WhatsApp group or something. However you set it up, that doesn't really matter. That's where all that stuff is going. And that can sometimes make it really hard for the client to actually go and find that information. Where is it? You know, I've got a new phone. I didn't back up my WhatsApp history. That's all gone. It was on my text messages. I can't find the email anymore because it's, you know, bogged down in a million different emails. This just gives that client one singular place to go that's got your branding all over it and your colors and all that kind of stuff. If once the job is finished, they still have access to that. They can still go back and look at pictures. They can still go back and grab documents and things like that. So, like I said, it's not the most fully featured thing in the world. It's not going to use AI. It's not going to do all this, that, the other, and everything for you. But what it does operate as is a really useful tool to be able to share documents in. So anything the client needs, you can just send that to the customer portal. They get updates on it when you've added something new. And hopefully from a communication standpoint, if you're trying to spend less time being on your phone all day, and you've got other people in and around the business that is answering queries, whether it's admin people or project managers, whoever it is, they can actually jump into your Buildxact and respond to the customer. And you've got one trail rather than what most people are doing is shooting text messages as the builder, shooting text messages, answering phone calls all day. You've got no record of it, of where all that stuff is. The first point of call I'd be saying to people is, unless it's an emergency, pop it into the chat. Someone on the team will get back to you, and it operates as one source of information. So I just want to touch on that because sometimes that gets missed a little bit in terms of what the customer portal is for. At the moment, it's not meant to be there to manage a whole project via a portal. It's really there to help you some of the things that are the most basic needs. And over time, we'll just continue adding and adding to it. Sorry, Ryan, cut you off there, mate.
Oh, no, you've raised some very good points there. And I'll certainly be touching more on communicating now with trades and subcontractors as well. At the moment, you can see my screen okay? That sharing's worked.
We've got your ANZ Customer Success fortnightly team meeting come up at the moment.
Oh, wicked. All right.
That's the meeting that Ryan's off to after this is finished, which I'm also going to be on a bit late. But
how embarrassing. All right. So
we'll delete that out of the editing, mate. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll get that in post. All right, you can see the appropriate screen now, I assume.
Yeah, maybe just if you can zoom in a touch, it might be a bit better. Just oh, sorry, mate. I should have just let you.
Yep, sorry. I'm going to blame the sickness here for me screwing up. All right, here we go. Back on track. Cool. I'm going to zoom in a bit.
Yeah, that's good, mate.
There we go. All right, so another thing that I wanted to discuss was our Buildxact on-site mobile app, which inherently links with this site diary tab within the job management side of Buildxact. Basically, we have a mobile app called Buildxact On-Site, and the intention of this app at the moment is to be able to communicate with workers that are on site, and that can be internal staff, or it can also be subcontractors as well. Just want to make the point that these people working on site do not need a Buildxact user subscription to operate the app. It is free to use at the moment for those people. And the basic intention of this app is to be able to communicate between those people that are working on site and those people that are within the Buildxact web application that we see here. And basically the premise is that those people on site will be able to walk around whilst they're on site with their phone. They're going to be able to write posts and take photos. And those photos and posts that they take are then going to feed back into the site diary section here. So it's a way, a lot of our users are using the site diary, not only they're using the site diary in the mobile app, not only for the basic functionality of communicating between on-site and in-office workers, but they're also using it to take photos like progress photos or even defect management as well. I have seen some of our users use it for a very rudimentary sort of time sheeting application too. However, yeah, there's a lot of people that are now using the mobile app to basically communicate back and forth from those that are working on site and those that are in the office. I will point out that it's not just communicating back and forth via text and images, but also documents that are stored on the job details tab specifically can also be shared to those workers on site. I've got some basic documents in this this job. And one of the options when I highlight a specific document is to share to the on-site app. So that'll basically come through to those people that are invited into the job. Sorry, I'm just getting to the relevant screenshot in this way here. So anyone invited into this job will then be able to see the details of the job and also any documents that you have shared into the on-site app. They'll also be able to, take photos and write posts that will feed into the site diary area here. So yeah, that's the
and
basically
again,
the premise of it.
Yeah, just another thing to touch on, same kind of what I did with the customer portal. Look, and admittedly, we might not have done the best job in terms of explaining what the mobile app was going to be when we first launched it. But really what it does is we've added new functionality that we don't do already in Buildxact. So that's with the site diary and adding photos and things. And it's also been able to keep track of that communication for people on site. And it's really good for people that, are trying to move away from being stuck on site all day and how to keep that communication. And there's going to be some teething issues at the start when a lot of builders try and, move away from being on site and working out of an office or working on the road if you're seeing clients and stuff. But hopefully this sort of thing helps in terms of being able to keep you on track of what's happening. And also, I mentioned before, I know for a fact people are taking photos, subbies and people are taking photos on site and sending it to your text message. I know that's happening. And same thing, I dropped my phone downstairs the other couple of months ago, smashed the hell out of the screen, lost pretty much everything I had on there because stupid I didn't back anything up. This stuff in Buildxact keeps an audit trail. So if you need to go back in 2 months' time and see a picture, you've got it there. It's not saved on a SIM card or uploaded to a bloody Google Drive that you don't access anymore or whatnot. It's all there ready to go, so you can keep a track of it. So, and obviously over time, we're going to increase the feature set that's coming through there. To-do lists are on the way. So the idea being is that you can create a to-do list for a particular person or a particular part of the job that can get shared out and they can work through that via the mobile app as well. So there's a whole heap of things that are coming, and obviously these increases in features will continue to happen. But if you have any specific feedback on things, like definitely reach out to us because we're always trying to fine tune. And the way we develop this stuff, we don't go away for a year and build this whole thing and then go, all right, here you go. We build it in these stages, and then based on what people want and need, we'll determine. And Ryan's obviously across this a lot more than I'm, doing a lot of the trainings for Buildxact. But that's kind of how we start building these sort of feature updates.
Yeah, and just to touch on that as well, if any feedback is able to be provided from the Buildxact platform itself under the Explore tab here, there is an area for feature suggestions, and we do put a lot of weight in the feature suggestions that are submitted by our users. And basically, as Julian has alluded to, the more suggestions or the more noise that's created through these feature suggestions about a particular topic is generally what we'll focus our attention on as we want to sort of develop what our users want the most as a priority.
Yeah, Ryan also takes personal emails for complaints and feature suggestions direct to his inbox as well. I'm sure he told me that before he came on.
I've never said that, but yes, feel free. No, actually, that's another thing to mention as well. Another way of submitting feedback is actually from the in-app need help button too. So just down here, it's not going to work for me because I've got an internal account, but if you click on the need help button, there's generally going to be a chat box that appears here. And so we also take feature suggestions from that need help section. They get sent to our support team who then flag those suggestions to our product team. So that's another way of doing it. However, the dedicated feature suggestion box is probably the best way of submitting feedback.
Awesome. Ryan, I might let you duck off and I'm maybe go through all these questions and stuff now. Nadia and Tara, you guys okay to stay on for 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, sure.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for being
Bye,
here.
Ryan.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Now that I've lost Ryan, I'm hoping there's not going to be too many technical questions because it's not really my forte either. But let's see how we go. So I'm going to start. I think I'm going to start from the bottom or the most recent and work my way up because I think most of the top ones have been covered now. So Zoom user, can you look up your Mitre 10 account pricing to come into? Yeah. So guys, on the estimating one, we touched on how that pricing integration works. But if you're inside Buildxact, you've got the Pro subscription or above, so Pro and Teams. You can go into integration, supplier integration, select the supplier that you want to work with. It will ask you for, your PowerPass number or Mitre 10 customer. I'm not sure what Mitre 10 use. When you do that, that will go to their team. They approve which price files to share to you. Once that is all turned on, it will show up in your catalog section and it will have the price file that they've shared. You might have price files from different suppliers. We work with a bunch of partners that have access to a ton of those as well. So ABN, Australian Builders Network, and RBN are about to go live as well. And the idea being is that you can just use any of those items to start building out your estimate cost. Ideally, what you want to do is do this in a template so that you can just rinse and repeat. But yeah, if there's a linked item that comes from a supplier that you've used and you're not just typing in, you have to actually select the item, it will pick up that pricing from the supplier. And if that changes in 6 months' time, it will update on your quote as well. Adrian, can you only share documents if you have set up a lead? This isn't my strong point in it, but as long as you've invited someone to the customer portal, I think you can set. I thought you could bypass the lead part and just invite someone to the customer portal, but you do need to invite them in. So that will be in the estimates screen at the very beginning. And I'm just going to do this myself quickly, just so I can actually tell you as I'm doing it. So link to a lead. Okay, so when you're in the estimate details screen, it will say lead details and client portal in there. So you do need to have a lead in there, but you can go and create the lead after the fact. I'll just quickly share my screen just so you guys can see it, but probably should have done that at the start. So this is where it'll come in. So lead details. This is the lead section just here. Link to a lead, but you can just go in there and add a lead, and then you just add, all the details that you need to add in. Once that's done, then this client portal will be here. So you'll need to link a lead to this estimate to use a client portal. So once that's done, you hit there, invite the customer in. They'll get an invite. I think they get an invite saying correct password and stuff. Just obviously make sure before you do that, you trial it on yourself, and you can go into the My Business section and actually set up how the colors and everything look, because sometimes people use like really bold colors and then you end up with this like giant Ferrari red all over the screen, and it's just a bit like, whoa, So just go in and play around with those colors and make sure you've got your branding colors organized in terms of what actually looks nice. Don't tell Ryan this, but I wasn't really a fan of the orange everywhere either. But so let's jump in. Okay, so oh god, I've completely lost where I'm at. Okay, I think he was going in and Nadia, I'll jump into some of your ones here. With Dex, does that copy the line items from the invoice and transfer to the related categories?
It doesn't feed it in automatically, but you can do the line items, yes. So when the invoice comes into Dex, yes, Dex has an option because the Dex pre-fills. It reads the invoice, it pre-fills it to one GL code, one job code. But if you have multiple codes on one invoice, at the bottom you have the option to add line items, which you will have to manually enter in, and then it feeds into Xero.
Thanks, Nadia. And do you have to use interface between Xero and no, you don't have to connect your accounting software at all. Obviously, there ends up being a little bit of double handling if you don't have accounting software connected. And we generally find that if you've got those things working correctly, for most people, it makes your life a lot easier. That was Katrina. Ruth mentioned that stop using invoices in Buildxact for the retention figure. Retention is not an area that I'm hugely experienced with, so I might just leave that one alone, Ruth, if that's okay. So Josh, we answered his. QuickBooks. Paul, I believe QuickBooks in the US, North America, because that's they're big boys over there. I think that's working for two-way integration. I don't think we've got it up and running here, but I think it's the same sort of thing with MYOB, is just the amount of people that want it. Yeah, it makes it hard for us to focus the time on developing. I think that's the issue. Tim, something useful to me would be the email address of contractors being shown on the PO. I know you designed POs to be sent via Buildxact. However, we create the PO as a PDF. Oops, sorry, the screen's just moved now. Someone typed in something. How we create the PO as a PDF, and then they send it via their email. We have a workaround. Okay, so yeah, it's just basically being able to show more fields that come across automatically in the PO. Tim, definitely pop that into a feature suggestion if you can. If you're still on, I'm not sure if you're still on. I know some people have dropped off. Every time I'm trying to read it, there's a new message that comes through and the chat moves again. So I think Bronwyn. Yes, I think Bronwyn is defending HubDoc a little bit there. From what I can see, every time the screen moves, it's hard. But yeah, so you send it to a unique email address, send documents. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of personal preference. I think, Nadia, I think you touched on that as well. So,
sorry, I'm going to have to head off really soon.
All good, Tara. Thanks for joining on. I really appreciate it.
There's two questions here that I can see just to the end. The actuals code, this is for Trainer. The actuals code is when you go into the variations and you enter actuals code. In the actuals costings, I'm adding an item or a category and changing that heading to variation number 1 flooring, whatever it is, and then dropping that into the actuals category on the variations creation page. And then there's another one from Joanna. When you're drawing down an allowance items and making it look neat, that doesn't bother me. As long as I have all of my actual costings in a line and anything that's being drawn down on, for example, guys going out and getting screws or rags or whatever, allocating those purchase orders to, I always have a supervisor consumables cost center just for general stuff. So I'll just make sure all those invoices get allocated to that particular cost center, and everyone who works with me knows that that's where that gets sent to, and whether we raise a big purchase order, whatever. But having that drawn down is fine because it's taking the money away from the actual amount of $2,000. So as long as I know that something's being drawn down, I don't care what that particular thing looks like, because yeah, it is pretty messy at times, but I want to know what the money's doing. So that's how I control that. Awesome. And
there was someone asking for your price list again, Tara.
Yeah.
For your
I'll just put my email in through here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so those who don't know, so Tara sells Buildxact templates, and also she's an estimator and stuff as well. So if you are in purchasing that, you want to do it yourself.
And shameless plug, I've just finished and I'm doing all of my estimating to handover workshop as well. So if anyone's interested in any of that, where I teach all of these things, send me an email through there as well. But I do have to run. Thank you so much for having me, and really nice to meet you, Nadia.
Bye, you too, Tara.
Cool. Thank you for the questions, everybody.
Awesome.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Tara. Cheers.
Bye. Yeah, bye.
No, I think we might be able to call it soon.
Yep.
So Adrian, around the template from last week, if you were in attendance on the webinar live, Tara is sending it through. It does take a little while because she has to go into templates, click share, type the email address in, and then share it. And it will only go to the email address that was on file. So if you don't get it probably by the middle of next week, maybe just reach out to Tara and just double check that the right email is on file. But I think she's got about 200 to do, and it takes probably about a minute to do each one. So she has to, poor Tara, to spend a bit of time doing that. I might leave it there, guys. I think most of them is covered.
I'm just adding my email address here as well. If
Yeah,
anybody has any queries regarding integration with their accounting software, specifically Xero or Dext, happy to help with that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. Ruth, about the old jobs in the on-site app, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe we just reach out to support. Just go into Explore, open up a chat request, just ask them that question. They'll be able to tell you. Can you share POs in the site diary for site staff? I don't know if you can share it directly in the PO screen, but you could always, when you generate the PDF, you could always attach that. So I might just quickly share my screen. Sorry, guys. I know we're going over a bit of time here, but sometimes trying to explain these things while I'm showing it is way easier. So when the PDF gets generated, job details, what you could do in your template, you could automatically have a PO section in here. When you upload the document, you can then go and click it, and then you can share it to the on-site app. That's a workaround. So if you're trying to share things with on-site app, and there was a comment earlier on about the schedule and how that would work as well. Same kind of thing. If you can, you should still be able to print this off, I believe. Oh yeah, share. There we go. So you can share this as a Gantt chart or a PDF or an image or whatever. You can do that and then go and actually share it into the job details section in here. And then from there, you'll be able to share that into the custom portal. I know it's a little bit of a workaround. It probably takes another extra 30 seconds to do than just sharing it directly, but it will be there and it will allow you to share it to the customer through the customer portal or through the on-site app as well. Just be careful if you're sharing schedules, try and use the minimize view. Don't share the whole lot. That can sometimes get you into trouble by showing too many dates and what should be done at what date. So hopefully that answered that question. Now I've just lost my Zoom chat window. There we go. It's back here.
Julian, I think I saw a question where somebody asked if they can run a profit and loss per job. I saw it somewhere in there. I just want to mention that if you do have Xero and you track your costs to the jobs, you can run a P&L per job within your accounting software. Because bear in mind, there will also be some things that are overhead related. Everybody has overheads, which will not necessarily pop up in your Buildxact. Somebody asked if they need an accounting software. My opinion is yes. At the end of the day, your accounting software is your real source of truth. When you go do your taxes and all that sort of stuff, when you really want to see your bottom line, it's the accounting software.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the government look at. They don't look at your building.
Yeah.
So
they don't look at, no. So I wouldn't recommend not having an accounting software.
Yeah. I just saw a comment there. I think it was Mariana. So I probably went through that a bit quick. Look, for me personally, I would invite people into customer portal and site diaries, even if you only just sent a few pictures and some invoices here and there. Like, I think it's still worth doing. And the benefit of it is that at any point in time, you can just go in and add things into those documents. So in the estimate details or the job details is the main way you can share documents. So if you're in the job details section here, and again, in your template, you can have these folders already organized so that these can be all set up and ready to go. So you can see here for photos, if I want to add a new photo in, I just add a new photo in. And then once it's in there, I click on it and then I share it to the client portal or to the app. So in the same way, if you want to do that for the schedule, you just go into schedule, this little share button in here, you can download it. So obviously you can send it via email and stuff as well. But if you wanted to share it into the portal, you can just download it as however you wanted. So, you know, the next 12 weeks, for example, Excel sheet, PDF, or an image, download it. Once it's downloaded and it's on your computer, you then just go back into the job details section. If you're in the job, if you're in the estimate details, add that document in there. Once it's in there, the same sort of things will pop up. Like here, you've got your subby agreements. Really useful just in general to have these readily used documents wherever you are, because you don't have to screw around in your laptop trying to find them. Just load them in your templates. They're ready to go. So that's your schedule. And I think there was I can't remember what the other question was, but same sort of thing. If once you download it, you can put it into here and it will work fine. Sorry, POs in the on-site app, same thing. When you go into your purchase orders, typically I don't have one in there, but you can go in, you can print it as a PDF, go into the job details, attach it, send it through. So I understand, guys, it's a little bit of a adds a bit of extra steps to try and do it, but you can still do it, and it's all tracked in there for them to go in and have a look. Obviously, once to-do list comes in, you'll be able to start adding a bit more in. So these features will continue to develop and make it a little bit easier for you to do that. So hopefully, Mariana, awesome. Yeah, thanks, brilliant. So hopefully that covered it. And Andrew, that question for the schedule was specific to you if you're still on there. Adrian, when is the next meeting? So I think, are you asking when is the next type of webinar like this? We bounce around a little bit in terms of how we organize these. We don't want to do too many of them because we can maybe find that we lose the effectiveness if we have too many of these ongoing. But reach out for a chat with the support team and book in training sessions if you ever need to go into something specific for yourself. And I reckon I'll probably try and do these once every 6 months or so. I think that's probably a good timing when things change. We have a bunch of new customers that come on that want to learn things, and people move a little bit further on in their journey if they're already using us. Can you change a lead associated with the estimate, Tim? I'm not sure. I think once it's in there, it's in there. But again, might be a support related question to check in on. But I might call it there, guys, if that's okay. Yeah, I'll just show you guys how to do this. We have one of the trainers away at the moment, so the ability to book training in there is, I think it's a little bit longer than normal, but it's still about a week or so. Schedule a callback or training, you just do that. And you press the callback, book a training session. That's for the more detailed stuff. So ideally you'd have something that you're trying to get out of that. And then you just schedule a one-on-one session, and that should open up with the options here, and then you can just select the time slots. Awesome, but I'll leave it there, guys. Hopefully you got something out of today. It's a little bit more jumping around than the estimating one. The estimating one is very specific on that estimating process. There's a lot of things to cover here with portals and on-site apps and Xero, and Xero alone. I think we did a session, Nadia, when it was like an hour and a half just for Xero. So
it can take a while.
Yeah, so we kept that really, really brief. So Nadia, thanks again for jumping on. Obviously, to Tara and to Ryan as well. If you get the recording, then but recordings, resources on Buildxact website, webinars, and then you've got these options here. So you can see all the previous ones that we've done. So tax time tips for builders, that was with Xact Accounting, where Nadia works. And yeah, that was all just around tax tips and stuff. So you can go back and have a look at these if you do want to, and yeah, rewatch it.
Emma, you're asking if you need to be an Xact client to work with us. Give me a call and we'll talk.
Yeah.
Send me an email, we'll chat.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off, end the session now. Have a little look. Probably later on today, maybe tomorrow, that recording will be on there if you want to jump in and have a look. But thanks again, guys. Appreciate you jumping on, and I will finish it up there.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.